excuse me. I agree completely. So moving on, Nam, let's talk about ship talk now.
All right. Well, the big thing was I liked. First, I'll speak in the previous segment. They just said, "Okay, now I'm waking up my 400i." He just didn't even add any emphasis to it. Just deadpanned it. I thought that was funny. They did that on purpose. Um, but they first off, I'm going to say I was wrong. I thought 404i. It was just a joke. It wasn't happening, and we were going to move on, and there was going to be some other surprise reveal or whatever. But apparently, it's a thing, and good. Now people will enjoy it. I don't know if I necessarily like the style of it myself, but as far as the details, not too bad. Some might think it's a little undergunned, but it's basically supposed to be a Connie competitor. It has and it's in the PTU right now. PTU, if anybody doesn't know, just dropped to Wave 1. And so subscribers and concierge are able to play now, and some people apparently have it in game. It has 4 missile racks with 8 size 2 missiles each, so 32 missiles. 2 gimbaled size 3 Panthers, which can be swapped out for a fixed size 4s if you wanted to. Size 3 shield, size 2 quantum drive, 3 size 2 power plants. Don't know whether that was necessary or not, and three size 2 coolers.
Nothing. Sorry. Keep going.
Sorry. Thought I heard something. But it's $220 war bond. This is all U.S., of course, and $250 if you want to pay with store credit. And like I said, it is a competitor to the Constellation, roughly the same size, and has can carry a bike, which apparently is the X1. Does anybody know if it's supposed to be included with it, or do you have to get the X1 separate?
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I didn't see it listed. Yeah,
I was able to jump in game really quick and take a look at this ship. Mm-hmm. And my initial impression is I think this is a very interesting fit for an Origin ship. A lot of Origin ships on the bigger size have a lot of, wasted space, and I have an 890, so I'm as guilty as it gets. But I really like that this was not quite as expensive as the Explorer variant of the Constellation. It probably doesn't have all the bigger features. The cargo deck up and down, or the lift, is smaller, and you're not going to get a very large vehicle in there. The X1 did not appear in the garage. I didn't have enough time to figure out how to get into the garage, but I could see into it. And I think that's a really interesting add-on, but it's not as useful as maybe a snub fighter. So I think, you're going to pay less money. You're going to get a little bit less. But I do think that this is a really interesting ship just beyond kind of a starter ship. If you want to do a little bit of all around and you want a little bit of luxury, I think this offers lots of various things that I think I like. I did see something I have not seen before, and it was 2 rooms near the cargo area that said temperature controlled. So I don't know if that meant temperature controlled for cargo or not, but there was nothing else in those rooms. And that could be an interesting game mechanic that we haven't seen in any other ship yet, that'll give you the ability to carry something that has temperature sensitive areas. So I thought aesthetically inside the ship was great. I think it's a nice little niche. I think it's probably valued right. And I don't think I'm going to pick it up, but I think there's a lot of people that are going to like this ship for the money.
Yep.
I would agree.
So Hawk, Frack asks, I liked every concept drawing they showed except for the one they actually went with. What are your thoughts while we show the different concept drawings on the screen? Did they make the right choice, or was there a better choice?
I feel like there were better choices in the concept art. I don't dislike the one they went with. It's one of those things when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, that's ugly. That was all ever. But as I kind of watched it, it kind of grew on me. The coloration they picked for it, I get they wanted to show off the skin that was kind of damaged, but it just looked terrible. And I think looking at that, there's 2 or 3 in there that are just better than what we got. And I mean, it's their game. They get to pick the ship design. It's not what I would have went with, though.
Yeah, I agree with you, Soulhawk. I do think they were trying to go with almost a traditional yacht look like today, with that big long bow and some of the ways the decks were laid out. So, I mean, I get the concept, but I agree. I think some of the ones they showed as concepts were better than the actual.
Yeah.
Hendrosa, what are your thoughts? Tiefel Hunden asks, states that they should have let us vote. What do you think about the current concept of the 400i?
When I first saw it, I got to, I'm majority rules on this one. Is my first impression was like, really? Was there not better choices? But it did grow on me, and I think it looks good. I'll have to disagree a little bit. I do like the skin color, that they have on the outside. That really kind of, I think, brought me into it. It's not the typical white on the outside, nice and shiny, type ordeal, but you still get that luxury feel with that yacht kind of look. But yeah, looking at them there.
I want to point out something. What you saw in game, I haven't seen for sale. The skin. It's white. It's white like every other basic origin ship in game stock right now. The skins I saw for sale don't include the skins that are for sale. Do not include what we saw in the demo.
Yeah, the base version is white. There's some skins that are predominantly black, but they have some colored accents near the back and kind of around the top of the cockpit that we didn't see with the one they demonstrated.
So we know they're going to sell us another skin at some point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with that being known right there, I think the way they showed it in game, it looks good. I don't know. I mean, you could probably get away with it, with the origin, the typical origin look with the white on there. It probably wouldn't look bad, but I guess I'd have to see it. I mean, but it grabbed my attention. At first, it didn't have my attention, but as you kept looking at it, as he was walking through it, I loved the way that you boarded and debarked the ship. It was great. It wasn't too bad.
Terrapin is indicating that he got when you buy it, you get the black skin. So
you do
by default, not the white skin. So, Jolly, what are your thoughts on?
I'm torn this one. Bear in mind, I bought a different ship today, so
which we're going to talk about shortly.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about. I have a Terrapin, and I never ever use it. I'll probably use the 400i more than I will the Terrapin. They're both explorers. I just think the Terrapin may be something special in the future. I'm not sure. But if I'm not using it, then maybe I should get the 400i. So I don't know yet. I'll decide next couple days.
Jolly, before this happened, you're on the record as saying you just wanted to spend money and buy ships. So you don't need excuses.
Definitely. So, Nam, back to you. Let's talk about, do you have any final thoughts on the 400i before we move on to the Liberator?
Well, like I said before, aesthetically, it's not necessarily my thing. It doesn't seem to match up with the others. Of course, people make jokes about bedpans with referring to the other origin ships, but and it is in line with like a yacht that somebody might buy at retirement. But I did for what it is. I think they designed it pretty well. The way the ramp you walk into, once it closes up, it serves as a hallway. It's not useless space like a lot of these things. So I think it's been pretty well designed.
I would say this. It is definitely one of the ugliest of the concepts, but I'm not a big Origin guy, so I don't like their ships to begin with.
Blasphemy.
Yes, I know. I'm awful, but I don't own any Origin ships because they look awful.
Heretic.
So, I'm sorry?
Heretic.
I know.
All hail the bedpan.
All hail the bedpan. Let's talk about the anvil then. Give us the specs on that and kind of what's going on there, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, that was a surprise. It was an actual. So the Anvil Liberator is classified as a light carrier. It's basically the pocket carrier people have asked for a long time. It's $500 war bond, meaning new cash. $575, and that since both this and the 400i are this the first time they're being sold, it comes with LTI insurance. If you pay with store credit, $575. It has pads for 3 small ships, small medium fighters. Probably a Warden is probably too big for those, and 2 tank-sized vehicles inside. But as we know from the Hercules, we'll see how many actually can fit, because people are going to try.
The brochure said you could have 2 small ships inside as well.
One small ship. on the lower deck.
Think about the size of a Nova versus a typical small ship. Yeah, it's same as with the A2. I mean, the M2. I mean, how many actual ships can you fit inside of that? A crew of 2, which, you know, like, so we did the same thing when the Hurt came out. It's like only that many, that kind of thing. But it may be enough. I mean, one person's the pilot and the other one's the load master. 16 jump seats for, you know, troops, whatever, and 14 suit lockers. And we got a picture of the interior here. Actually, did we put up the picture of the Liberator itself first? I'm sorry.
We did. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So we got a picture of the interior. Let's see if I can enlarge this, get a better look. And it seems to me to be a pretty clean layout. And the important thing here versus a Herc is the cargo, which is 400 SCU of cargo, is separate from the vehicle base. So you're not stuck in a situation of either or. You can both have the vehicles for your operation and the supplies to support it. And then of course on the port side there's a docking collar. And
what is that bottom front room there? I can't quite make it out. Is that cargo? Both those front rooms are cargo.
The bottom left.
Yes, the very bottom.
left.
Yeah, those are all
Yeah.
the 400 SCU of cargo there.
Okay.
And then on the port side seems to be a whole lot of armory, jump room, all the quarters and all that.
Great.
But overall, this is pretty awesome. This is pretty much if someone was planning on using a Hercules for supporting operations, dropping in on a location, this is a much better choice. I don't really
It's a must buy.
Yeah.
A must buy. Right now, Anvil.
Go Jolly.
For God's sakes, googly moogly. For a low price, you get 3 fighters, 2 tanks on one ship. Only needs 2 people. Good God, people, buy this ship now.
I'm going to be honest. This is, a pocket carrier, for lack of a better term. It's a major pocket fob, as Tiefel London calls it. I think this is going to be a game changer when it gets in game, and that's when is the key phrase. Soul, dropping down to you. What are your thoughts on the Anvil Liberator now that we've gotten Jolly's bye speech?
I'm not going to go so far as to say you must buy it now, but it is a fantastic ship. It solves a lot of the logistic problems that you're going to run into if you're doing smaller groups. It's basically like, if you can't afford a Kraken but want one, get this instead. Because this is everything the Kraken does, just on a smaller scale and a little bit less able in some areas. And that's fine.
I would make the argument, the downside to the Kraken is you can't land it. And this
you can land it.
Oh,
yeah.
you can't?
You can. They have a concept art of it landed.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. But
it's just
getting
going to cost you more
on and
hydrogen
off of
than you
it.
can afford.
Yeah, but getting on and off of it does not look like it's as roll-on easy as this.
No, this is 100% easier than getting off the Kraken when it's landed.
Correct. Mm-hmm. This is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I love this ship.
Handrosa, what are your thoughts on the pocket carrier Liberator?
I loved it. Corey, I'm with Jolly on this one. Anything Anvil, I mean, it took me right back to the, oh God, now I'm going to forget which one it was. Which one do we like there, Jolly? What am I thinking of? The Valkyrie. The Valkyrie. It took me right back to the Valkyrie, and I was like, I'm sold. But yeah, we were kind of chatting it up. We're like, oh man, wait until people put some tanks on this things and you start flying it around. And of course, those folks are already looking to do that. But yeah, it's definitely a must-have for any organization. Right, Jolly? At least 4 or 5 for ADI.
I agree.
Yeah, the key thing I see here about this and how it's going to impact operations for us in Atlas Defense Industries is this fits right above the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is a great ship. It gets infantry in. It can get a couple of light vehicles in, but you can't carry air cover. You can't carry non-quantuming, runabouts and things like that, like Argo, MPVUs or MPUVs, whatever.
Yeah, this will be the heavy lifter.
This is the one step above, and and you can fly fighters from it. It sounds like in theory they're going to give us the refuel mechanism, and I see this as being a real big go-to as soon as it's in game. Josh, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to agree with Jolly's excitement and enthusiasm, and I really love this ship, and I could spend an hour talking to you about how much time I've spent trying to make an 890 or a Polaris fit into this multi-role that this ship does at a much better level. Now, I do think the 890 still has some roles in that, and we'll see about the Polaris, but this ship knocks it out of the park. I do think it changes a couple things I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about a couple of questions I have that maybe aren't so great. But number one, I think that it's very important to look at some of the details. And when you look at the size of the ship pads, a Super Hornet's about 26.5 meters wide. Okay. So if that's our baseline, then we can start talking about what other ships can we fit on there. Now, a Cutlass is about 1.5 meters, 2 meters wider than the Super Hornet. So I don't know if that means we'd be able to get a Cutlass onto there for those two small pads and make it one medium ship. So that'd be very interesting. But I do think that if that's not the case, the Freelancer suddenly becomes a very interesting ship. It is within the width of a Super Hornet and the length of those two pads, it should fit no problem. So if you wanted something medium sized to fit on there to do another multi-role job and not have to take that all the way down planet side, now the Freelancer becomes a very, very interesting ship in my mind. Now, to take that to another extreme, you could probably fit 2 or 3 arrows for every one of those pads and potentially have 9 arrows to take with you. So this is a game changer.
That's very real.
I think you're stretching.
Well, you can definitely do 2. I can get 3 arrows onto an 890 pad. All right. So we'll see, but you could definitely do 2. Right.
Yes.
They were pretty clear about it's supposed to be 3 extra small ships. I'm thinking bucks, arrows, stuff like that. Be able to fit those 3 plus 2 tanks. You want 2 tanks, whatever. But I really don't think they're going above the more than maybe a Gladius. 3 Gladius would be outstanding. I think that's about it.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. But it's, again, this is going to give you the flexibility to take the entourage that you want for that mission. So if we were going to go take out one of those systems down that we saw in Pyro, we're going to attack one of those. This could be one of the main launch pads that we need. Now, it does get into a couple of questions. This has, it looks like it's a long duration ship. So I didn't see anything that said anything about medical. Maybe I missed it. Again, I was doing other things, so I'd like to see if there was some basic level of medical on there. And then 2, it has 16 jump seats and 14 lockers, but I didn't say anything about beds for people to log out of. So that's one question I really have, and I really hope that they have the facilities for 16 people, if it's just real crude bunks or something.
I think if they're treating it the same way they did the Valkyrie, it's meant for moving troops in. It's not meant for them to stay on.
Okay.
We will never have the one and all ship out there. You can't have everything you want in one ship. And
Why
I
not?
agree with that concept. Because you should not. Period.
But you were so excited about this ship.
Hold on.
How could you not want beds?
Hold on. We do have
a transport, a fighter, a bombardier, whatever the case would be. So they should be different. I love the fact you have to bring in all sorts of ships in to make something happen. Right. Not all in one. I love the fact that taking 2 of these things there, as you described, with their fighters, with their troops, plus you need to have some sort of bomber in there, maybe. You need to have some sort of support ship, medical ships. I completely agree with you, but you cannot have one ship that does everything. That's being spoiled brat.
And he's pointing at you, Josh.
I thought you had it.
Right there.
I'm going to say you did not. There's one last thing I want to talk about on this really quick.
Okay.
So I love it, and I like Anvil, and I got to decide if I'm going to upgrade my Valkyrie or just buy this. There's a lot of questions I got to answer, okay? But I am curious, and I would love to see, and I know Jay's not going to like this, an Origin variant of a pocket carrier and a Crusader variant of a pocket carrier. I'd love to see those 2.
Yes.
Look, I'm all for more variants of pocket carriers. I would think Origin would be the worst possible vendor to make it, but that's my opinion. my opinion, in my opinion only. Everybody's got different flavors for stuff. And so, yeah, I think, a Crusader or Origin or Aegis or something like that, pocket carrier or anything else would be interesting to see. But it's good that we finally have one that's coming into game. And I think that this particular vehicle is going to be useful for more than just military. I think that this is the perfect go to Pyro and do a bunch of mining, surface mining, ship, because you could carry probably 4 or 6 Argo rocks. You can carry an Argo MP, whatever, the person carrier version that can carry around hand miners, and you can have plenty of cargo to offload the rocks and the hand miner stuff into little cargo boxes in the cargo hold. So I mean,
a prospector would fit.
Well, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'd prefer to have fighter coverage or something like that instead, but for the other 2 slots. But my point is that this ship could have some significant flexibilities. And definitely, I agree. Tiefel says he sees the Kraken being more of a medium-sized ship. I agree completely with that.
Yes.
The Kraken is in a different scale. And I'm going to be honest, as big as the Kraken and as big as an Idris is and how long it takes to get a hammerhead out to orbit, I'm not going to take them into a gravity well unless we have no choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Anybody
else have any further comments on the Liberator before we move on?
Liberator is the small one. Kraken is the medium one. I wait to see the big one besides the one we can't get whatsoever.
Correct. There needs to be a 6 to 9 fighter pocket carrier.
As for the win,
or whatever you want to call that.
And I hope they make it Origin just so you hate it.
I know, but that's okay. But here's the thing. I will suck it up, Buttercup, and be happy about it, because that's the one thing that we don't have is the ability to launch light fighters and refuel and rearm them.
This is
And
true.
we need a carrier for that.
Excuse me. Bless me.
So any other comments on the Liberator before we move on to...
on the win question.
Okay.
We love asking that. But I'd say this or something like it's going to be an essential thing to have in the game before they drop Pyro. So I'm hoping it drops before then.
They did specifically mention in a one-off comment that this would be useful for getting your fighters around Pyro, just because the size of that system is going to be much larger than Crusader, and there's not going to be a lot of gas stations.
Correct. So, let's go on and talk about the Banu Merchantman.
I think that's on me. Well, they showed another update on the Banu, and first thing that stood out was size 8 guns. Now, the thing keeps growing. I mean, before this thing drops into game, it's going to fit the Stanton system in the cargo hold, and every time it activates the jump drive, it's going to create another wormhole. Don't know. They keep growing this thing every time. So we'll see how long it is before we. Are they even like in a white box on that yet? Anybody know?
No, I didn't hear about that today.
I didn't either.
No. So that's a main thing I know is it looked a little bit less spiky than it has in the past, and only other real detail was 4 automated point defense turrets. Other than that, they showed pictures of some components moving, articulating, but I didn't get a whole lot of detail on it beyond that. Anybody catch anything more than I did?
Yeah, it was a lot bigger, better ship than I thought it would be. I have it BMM. I paid $350 for it. We have a couple members who paid $250 for it when it first came out, before I ever got a chance to buy it. Bear in mind, mine was an upgrade for it. And I'm thinking now we're talking about capital ships going to be worth about $800-900 in the next iteration of this. Right now, you cannot get one unless you buy a package, and that's a $3,500 package, I believe it is. And I think you're better off. You bought one way back. You got a gold gem right there. It's going to be a massive improvement to your gameplay. I have to wait and see how the NPC interaction with buying stuff off of your ship is going to come to play, but I'm real happy with the fact that I have one of those darn things.
Completely agree. The Banu midshipman is a big change. Not a big fan of the Banu stuff personally, but I see a lot of love there, and I like that game. And that's going to be a big ship with that size 8 weapon. So Hawk, what are your thoughts on the Banu, real quick?
It's definitely got bigger. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. They did kind of sleek it down a bit. It looks less spiky and more curve, as I think Nam already brought up. I'm not a big fan of the alien aesthetic. With that being said, it does look like an interesting ship. I can see it being a useful ship. I personally won't be getting one, not only because it's probably going to price jump up again to like $750 at least.
Yeah.
But
800, 900.
I think the people who bought it are going to be real happy with it.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you bought it early like Jolly did.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't buy it early enough. Damn it.
Yep. Josh, any comments on the Banu?
I really liked the concept of the Banu from the beginning. I did not buy one, but I've thought it's been an interesting ship. The way it's developed, I think, dollar for dollar at that original $250 price is probably the best thing you could buy to get your money on your return. I will look to see how it is in game, and I'm looking forward to seeing the trading and things that are done on it. So I think it's just a really interesting, useful ship that's kind of grown in one of the more interesting ways than some of the others over time.
And not last, but very much not least, Tendrosa, thoughts on the Banu?
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the same opinion of the group. I don't personally own one. It's going to bring a lot, to the verse, not to beat a dead horse or anything like that. I did really like the fact that you had the Banu Defender that fit inside that thing. That was pretty cool, and I loved the fact that the guns were hidden. I didn't catch too much on that one, but I was like, I like that. You got yourself your flying shopping mall, but the thing can be deadly, I guess, if need be.
Concealed carry.
Concealed carry does require us that the Banu merchantman has a hangar space for 2 defenders, which is that's pretty
nice.
Stout fighters. So that means there's going to be plenty of room for other fighters. May even fit a Vanguard. We'll have to check and see. It'd be close.
Yeah.
That Banu Defender is a stout little puppy as far as a landing footprint.
And with how generous they are on landing pads, yeah, I could see it fitting a Vanguard.
Good. We'll have to wait and see. But and then finally, Nam, we have one last ship that they announced here. You want to we don't have much information on it, but
just they showed a blurry image that you can make out anything in, of course. But the small refinery ship. You remember, was it last year they had the competition for concepts, and there were 4 of them, and this is the last of the 4 that we haven't seen. The ground mining vehicle ended up being the Rock DS, and then the Geon small cargo, which was the Gatac, and the Tavaran light fighter, which we've of course gotten now. So it's the refiner, some sort of small refining ship for refining ore for obviously, like maybe you have a couple of prospectors out collecting ore, and they'll take it back to it rather than having to haul all the way back to a station, which could be very
massive.
Which would be very lucrative if you're in a very rich quantanium field. You don't have to worry about the expiration date on those. You can just take it to that. It can refine them and put it in a stable state. That would be awesome. And the only other thing is they started. We didn't mention it, did we? But as far as the competition, I don't see it listed here. They had a new contest for 4 new concepts to vote between, just like we did before.
Yep,
Yeah,
they haven't
put it
announced how we're going to do that yet.
They have a poll
right now.
They have a poll on the website,
Yep.
and the Explorer is already taking it. It's obvious the Explorer ship's going to win, so we're going to be getting some new undefined Explorer ship. The other 3 was a ground vehicle, a hover vehicle, and a bomber.
Bomber.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need
Little
a
bomber.
dedicated little bomber.
I would say the
completely
bomber or the hover vehicle. Only reason I would want that one is to force them to finally fix hover mode. Fix that's the wrong words to use, but the Gravlev vehicles.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely need a nice small dedicated bomber.
Yep.
With a targeting pod.
Yeah, the current World War II guess your windage and release method is not the best.
No.
I guess with that said, that kind of completes the first part of our show here. We're going to be here for a long time tonight because there's lots of information. We're going to go to a commercial break shortly, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Gen 12 and multi-core Vulkan segments, crafting of worlds, and finally, but not least, server meshing in the state of persistence, and some of the little nuance bombs that they dropped in that I think are going to impact people. Excuse me. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes.